Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to a brand new video and some more F1 career mode. Today we are back for the first time in about a week, to be fair. The last episode being the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. If you guys haven't seen that, it was a pretty good episode, and to be fair, one of my better races. So if you guys haven't checked that out, I'll leave it linked up in the top right hand corner of your screen. But like I said, it's been a week, so there's a few updates, so let's run you guys through them and let's see what happens. So first of all, jumping to the laptop, we do have confirmation that there could be a change in the regulations next year. We've been notified by Carl that the engine department could be changing, and of course we already know that Raikkonen is also retiring at the end of the season, so there could be some big changes in the off season over the winter, so we'll keep an eye on that moving forward, and there could be potential for some big shuffles into season 2. We've currently got about 2,100 R&D points as we head into the weekend, and there is no rain expected here at Singapore, so I'm looking forward to it. In terms of R&D, we are just ahead of Ferrari as we bring a few updates, but so do Mercedes and the prancing horses. So things are pretty close and relatively unchanged after Italy. So we're going to see how the weekend goes, and fingers crossed we can make it a good one. So first of all, we're going to jump into practice, and we're going to change the format up a little bit in these episodes. So after practice, you can see we scored a pretty decent amount of points, to be fair, but almost 800 points. So our total now 2,850. And also in terms of acclaim, we are very close now to level 10, and with that we move into qualifying here at Singapore, and this is one of my strongest tracks of the year. But it wasn't all smooth sailing because we jumped into qualifying and we had an issue with the car, as you'll see in a minute, so it's not going to be the best start to Q1 here today.
Okay, bear with us a few minutes. We're losing hydraulic pressure. There's a leak somewhere in the system. Sit tight for a bit.
So as you can see, there was a bit of an issue with the hydraulics, so we had to miss out on the first part of the session, but eventually we went out towards the end, and it only took one run to get the job done, and we are really fast around here. This is probably one of the AI's weakest circuits, if not their weakest, and therefore we go straight up to P1, top of the timesheets with a 133.4 in Q1. So a very good opening lap, and we finished Q1 top of the timesheets ahead of both Mercedes cars and both Ferraris. Alex Albon there in P6, and no real surprises as we conclude the first part of qualifying. And generally the car, like I said, working well, and I'm going to try my luck in Q2, and we have a set of medium tyres, so we are going to try and see if in Q2 we can make it work on the medium tyres. So here we go then, we're going to go for a full lap and we're going to see what this one was like, and straight away down towards turn 1, quite a lot of understeer. I've got to be honest, we just about kept it within track limits. We missed our apex there for turn 3, and generally the mediums were a bit cold. They weren't quite in the sweet spot for the start of the lap. So sector 1, you'll see here a bit oversteer there on the exit. Sector 1 just generally a bit scruffy, and the tyres not fully in the working range just yet. Either way, we now go to the start of sector 2, and at this point now the mediums were starting to get into the right window and work pretty well for us, and now the grip was kind of a bit more normal and a bit more competitive as a tyre. So in Q1 we did a 133.4, so we're kind of aiming for that kind of region of a mid 33, low 34 again, to be honest. That would be enough to get us into Q3, I think. So you can see here, much tidier now. Sector 2, a lot better, a lot more consistent, less mistakes, and the car generally working better. A bit of a lock up to the hairpin, but we still just about make the apex as we now get onto the power here along the back straight, opening up the DRS. And now we go into the start of sector 3. First of all, heavy brake zone. Use all the runoff on the left hand side to maximize the corner exit, and we now make our way into a series of chicanes. So first of all, we've got a right left under the little bridge there, that then is going to feed into a left right underneath this big kind of grandstand here, very close to the inside wall there on the left, and then one more chicane here for one more final right left, using a lot of the inside curbs here. There's a lot of time to find, getting as close as possible to the exit wall, and then throw the car in the final couple of corners, full commitment as we now open DRS, and we set a 133.9 on medium, so half a second slower than our Q1 lap, but still good enough to go P1. So seemingly the AI a bit slower in Q2. Albon eventually finished the session on top with a 133.7, and I think part of that is down to a time simulation glitch, so all the times in Q1 were simulated, therefore they were a lot quicker than what the AI should be doing, and Albon's time in Q2 was also a simulated time, therefore it's faster than what the AI would regularly do around here. Either way, we moved to Q3, and the lap times in this session were all legit, so there was no time simulation. We went for 2 runs in this session. First of all, our first time lap, as we run up to the line, we set a 33.2, and that is our fastest lap of the weekend so far, by about 0.2 quicker than Q1. So setting the benchmark very early on in Q3, but that wasn't the best lap because this one was the lap right here. So this time we're going to go for a full lap of Singapore on the soft tyres, but you guys can enjoy the engine sounds around Marina Bay.
"30 seconds left in the session.
And here we go then, we're going to get ready for the final corner here, throwing the car in, and look at this, 3.5 tenths up here as we improve into the 1 minute 32s, and that is going to be pole position for the Singapore Grand Prix in, not really surprising fashion. We've been quickest all weekend and it really showed. As you can see, all the laps in Q3 were legit, so we were 7 tenths quicker than Valtteri Bottas in P2, which is insane. Hamilton only P4, the championship leader, not having a great qualifying, and we was 1.4 seconds quicker than our teammate Alexander Albon. So when it comes to legit lap times, we were so quick around here, 2.3 quicker than Lance Stroll. But guys, that is it for qualifying. Absolutely insane. The car was just on fire. And with that, we're now going to move into a quick little interview, and then we're going to move into the race.
Great qualifying session. Are you feeling safer ahead of the pack?
For sure. I think, having those medium tyres as well is going to really help, and we can just push flat out. And it keeps us all happy and, no pressure on the team to deliver.
What was the secret of your qualifying pace?
Just going flat out. The car's great at the minute, and it really suits this track, so we can just give it everything and the car can take it.
Appreciate your time.
And finally, after qualifying, we look at the rivalry breakdown, and we do score a point on Bottas, so we are going to close the gap slightly, and it's now 15 to 17 as we get ever closer to the Finnish driver, and also another little boost on the acclaim, so hopefully we'll hit level 10 after the race. But guys, that is it for qualifying here at Marina Bay. We're now going to move into the race for the fourth and last race of the season for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. We're here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit today, located in the heart of Singapore. The circuit consists of 23 corners, 13 to the left and 10 to the right. It's a track that's incredibly technical, so don't expect to see the drivers taking too much at full throttle. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Why don't we start by talking about Valtteri Bottas? They need third or better to ensure they stay in contention for the championship. Outside of that, well, their fate is no longer in their hands.
And they can do it for sure, as long as they don't dwell too much on the position. At the end of the day, there's only one way to go racing, and that's to give it everything you've got. Either your best is good enough to stay in the hunt, or it's not. There's no point giving any less than 100%.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Martinez lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Vettel, Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Albon, Ricciardo, Norris, Perez and Lance Stroll, Sainz, Ocon, Pierre Gasly and Magnussen, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Romain Grosjean and George Russell, Kvyat and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Okay, so here we go then, guys, for the race. And first of all, the strategy, as we're going to start, of course, on those medium tyres that we qualified on in Q2, and then move on to the hard compound tyres. We've also underfueled by 1 lap, so hopefully we should be relatively competitive. We seem to have a big advantage on pace compared to everybody else, so it shouldn't be, you know, a massive surprise that we should be competitive here today. Either way, let's see how the race goes as we get ready for the 5 red lights. It's important here to get a good start, so let's see if we can make that happen. Lights out and away we go here at Singapore, and a little bit of wheel spin, but generally it's a good start from us. Hamilton actually and Bottas don't get off to a particularly good start. There's a bit of contact between the two of them there heading through turn 1, and that is going to give us a bit of breathing room and a really good start for us. Already out of turn 4 we've got a 1 second gap to Lewis Hamilton, which is insane. So perfect start in our case, and exactly where we want to be. So away we go then, and we're going to try and run away into the sunset, try and keep that 1 second gap and pull out of the DRS range. So let's see how the race goes. 31 laps ahead of us, and by the end of lap 1, the gap to Hamilton already 3 seconds. We absolutely just bolted on the first lap, and we are just so much quicker than everybody else. And you'll see now lap by lap here. Now at the end of lap 2, with a bit of oversteer, yellow flag behind, the gap is now nearly 6 seconds as Hamilton is dropping through the field. We'd set a new fastest lap, but Hamilton, it looks like, having issues. He's dropping down the order here, so it may have been Lewis who's had a problem. We'll get confirmation soon, but the gap to Bottas now nearly 7 seconds, and it's Hamilton out of the Singapore Grand Prix, of course, the championship leader, and that is massive for us. So let's get a quick replay here, and it looks like the engine has just gone on that black arrow, and Hamilton there, as you can see, a passenger, a bit of contact actually with one of the Ferraris, and someone losing an end plate, and that is going to be the end of Lewis Hamilton's race here today. And suddenly, of course, Hamilton had a chance of securing the championship today, but that is gone, and we're now going to benefit massively from that, because you can see now on lap 5 we've already got 11.4 seconds on Bottas. We was just absolutely flat out relentless pace, lap after lap after lap. You can see here another lap has gone by. We've pulled out another 3 seconds on Bottas, gap now over 14 seconds on lap 6 of the race. And of course on these medium tyres we're just going to get quicker, whereas everyone else on soft tyres is going to get slower. So that gap is going to keep going up, and we're going to keep pulling away every single time. And on lap 6 eventually we had, I believe, the first of the pit stops, and it was Mr. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. So he's going to box, and then the next lap is going to be, I believe, Valtteri Bottas, who follows in the Mercedes. And we had 20 seconds on Bottas. Vettel pits as well in the other Ferrari, and that is going to mean Sainz will take second place on track on the medium tyres, and he's 27 seconds behind us after just 7 laps in this race. Unbelievable, absolutely insane. The gap now 31 seconds going on to lap 9, and it wasn't stopping. We were so quick around here, every single lap, 3-4 seconds quicker a lap. And you can see now at the end of lap 9 onto the start of lap 10, I just had to pause it because I had to make sure it wasn't a glitch. And we are running 110 AI, which is the hardest difficulty as well. And I was curious, so I actually went into the race director after this because I wanted to compare some lap times and see what exactly the AI's pace was. So we're going to the director here. We're going to look at lap times first of all, and you can see our personal best are 137.9, and we've been doing consistent 138 every single lap, and that is really good pace. But we then look at Carlos Sainz, and you can see his best lap is a 140.9, which is 3 seconds slower than ours. And not just that, he's in the 141s, 142s, so we are so much quicker. And eventually on lap 11, the gap is 38.5 seconds as we're going to box for our one and only pit stop in this race onto the hard compound tyres. And as you guys know, those who start on the soft tyres, you know, Bottas, Leclerc, Vettel, they're going to have to two-stop in this race. So we're going to be so overpowered in this race. It's absolutely unbelievable. So away we go on the hard tyres. And at this point, all I'm hoping for is that there isn't any safety cars, because we've worked so hard to get this gap that I want to try and push it forward as much as I can. So a relatively straightforward stop, 2.6 seconds. And we're going to rejoin comfortably out front, of course. No one's going to be anywhere near us. And we're going to see what happens behind us, because, of course, we've got Bottas, Vettel, Leclerc, all having to do a second stop yet, and I want to see if Sainz boxed on that lap. So we'll get confirmation shortly to see if Sainz did indeed box, and the answer is no, he hasn't, and he's got the gap down to about 14 seconds, it looks like. So we've got that much time in our pocket. Eventually, lap 13, Sainz does pit, so He's going to go for his one-stop strategy along with Esteban Ocon as well, and also Pierre Gasly and Kevin Magnussen. So you can see here Sainz actually, that very same lap a bit later, actually retired from the race. And unfortunately, because Sainz has so much bad reliability, to be fair, the McLaren generally is very unreliable. And then Lance Stroll is out as well. So we're going to have a quick look to see what happened to those guys in a minute. But first of all, you can see this lap, we're on for a personal best here. We're absolutely flying, and we're going to cross the line and set a new fastest lap. Even though we matched it, it's actually slightly quicker. So we're going faster again on these tyres, but now we're going to get a replay to see exactly what happened. So there's Stroll. He's had an issue, no smoke at the back, so potentially a gearbox issue or maybe electrical. But he's slowing down now, and we're going to cut to Carlos Sainz, who's behind him. He's chasing, looks like an Alfa Romeo here, and yellow flag. There is Stroll up the road, and suddenly it looks like there's going to be contact. Oh, wow, that's a big one, and that is going to be Sainz out of the race. And of course, he was in P2 behind us, so that's him out of the equation. And eventually, at the end of lap 14, we set yet another fastest lap into the 1:37s. Meanwhile, Leclerc and Vettel 2 and 3 for Ferrari, and the gap is 37 seconds now, making that 40 seconds as we head on to lap 17. And at this point, guys, I was actually challenging myself. So the plan was, can we lap every single car? Because we know Leclerc, Vettel, Bottas, Albon all have to make an extra stop. So we've still got about 14 laps to go. So can we lap everybody in this race here today? Because my pace was still 2, 3, 4 seconds a lap quicker. And, you know, I was quite bored out front. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself and see how dominant we can really be around a particular racetrack. So as you can see, on lap 18 now, Valtteri Bottas pits. Leclerc pit a couple of laps ago, and now it's Bottas, and a few laps later it's going to be Sebastian Vettel, I believe, who also pits for Ferrari. So the next closest car is going to be Esteban Ocon, and he's 1 minute and 10 seconds behind. And the personal best around here is a 1:38, so we are 28 seconds behind lapping Esteban Ocon, and with about 10 laps to go, we can do this. And straight away we got to work on getting past the traffic. So I got held up a little bit here by this Williams. I believe it's Nicholas Latifi, I'm not quite sure. Either way, we get past quite easily and move up and get past one of the lap cars. We then caught up to a few more lap cars here. This is going to be an Alfa Romeo, it looks like. I'm not quite sure who it is. But we're going to get past him quite rapidly as well. I think it's Antonio Giovinazzi. And with that, we're now going to have to get past Mr. Lando Norris, Mr. Last Lap Lando in the McLaren. And a few corners later, he also got out of the way as we move past another car. And you can see, meanwhile, the gap in the top left now, Ocon 1 minute 16 seconds behind. So we are constantly gaining time on him as we get past the racing point of, I believe, Sergio Perez. And then a couple corners later, Mr. Daniel Ricciardo will also get out of the way in the Renault. And we can now go after the final Williams of George Russell. And actually, to be fair, I think that might be an Alfa Tauri of Nicholas Latifi. Yes, Alfa Tauri. He also gets out of the way on the exit of turn 3. And with that, we are through, once again, a bunch of cars. And we then caught up to our teammate, Alexander Albon, who's having a pretty poor race here. He gets out of the way on the back straight quite nicely. So we are going to move through and gain another position on a lap car. Meanwhile, the gap to Ocon now, 1 minute 20. So we're getting that gap down. We're about 15, 16 seconds off where we need to be now. So we're getting closer. 6, 7 laps to go as well, as we now get past one of the Haas cars, it looks like. Yes, we do. And that's actually going to give Albon a chance to get past. So we do Albon a favour there by lapping that Haas car. That's given Albon the window to overtake him. And now we're going to get past George Russell, I believe, in the other Williams, who also gets out of the way quite nicely for us. And we've now got a bit of clean air. So we can start to push, and eventually we got up to Kimi Räikkönen. He also got out of the way very nicely, and meanwhile the gap now 1:24. So again, we're constantly catching here. This time we've got another Haas. This is Romain Grosjean, I believe, and we're through on him as well. And then we had a nice bit of clean air again to push, so I got on with it. And eventually here we are going on to the very last lap of the race. This is the leading group. First of all, we get past Valtteri Bottas here. We've then got both of the Ferraris, then Pierre Gasly, and then Esteban Ocon in front. So last lap, can we lap every single car in the race? First of all, we get past Sebastian Vettel straight away, which is great for us. Now we've got to try and catch up to Charles Leclerc. So we need to make these moves very quickly and very effectively and efficiently. So we're going to use all the rich mix we have, all the overtake mix we have, and the DRS as well. We're going to see if we can try and close that gap. Purple sector 1, and let's see if Charles Leclerc can register and move out the way due to the blue flag. Looks like we're close enough here. Yes, we are. And Leclerc moves over to one side, and we've now got just Gasly and Ocon remaining here. So let's see if we can try and clear Pierre Gasly now and get into what would be third place, you know, if we're talking about positions here in this race. As we go through the chicane now through the Anderson Bridge, I think we might just be able to get close enough here for Gasly to get out of the way through the exit of the hairpin, which he does. We almost lose a bit of a wing, but we're through nonetheless. And here we go then. Only Esteban Ocon remains. It's the last lap of the race. Can we lap every single car in a 110 AI difficulty 50% race at Singapore? We're about to find out. I'm trying to push here to get this gap down to Ocon. I'm trying to close up to him so that he moves out of the way. The gap is still a bit big here. We've only got a few more corners to go, and I was really just throwing the car into every single corner here and hoping for the best. And we go for a full send into the chicane, and luckily for us, Ocon registers. He realizes, he moves out of the way, and there we go. We're going to win the Singapore Grand Prix, and we're going to lap every single car in the most dominant drive in F1 history.
Absolutely awesome. Just amazing. Well done.
What a great race it's been then. Another classic Singapore Grand Prix, and they've held on to take the checkered flag here today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they secured here.
And there we go then, guys. The results are in, and it's absolutely historic as we lap every single car in a 50% race. And I don't think that's happened in the history of F1 in real life. And I don't think many people have done this on 110 AI around Singapore. So an incredible drive, the most dominant drive I think I've ever done on any F1 game, period. So insane. I've not got the words for it. We also pick up the fastest lap, so 26 points for us here today. The championship leader, Lewis Hamilton, doesn't score any points, and Bottas, who's second in the championship, only scores a P4. So things have really opened up for us. Albon there finishing in P8 as well, and Russell just missing out on the points in P11 for Williams. So let's move into the driver standings, and you can see on screen, with that race win, we won the last race in Italy as well, so 2 consecutive race wins. We are now well ahead of Sebastian Vettel, and we're 70 points off the lead, and with 3 races to go, mathematically we still have a chance of the World Championship, and we're 40 points behind Valtteri Bottas. So we've done a good job here of really getting ourselves into contention in the second half of the season. We then move into the Constructors, and we are comfortably in third. And to be fair, we are getting that gap to Ferrari down a little bit, and we may have a chance of catching them right at the end of the season. But nonetheless, that is it for the race here today at Singapore. We now move into the rivalry breakdown, and we have a flawless weekend, and we outscore Bottas by 3 points, and therefore we retake the lead in the rivalry by 1 point. And with 3 races to go, it's looking good, really, really good. We also move up to level 10 on the driver acclaim, so literally everything this weekend has been perfection so far, and we got a few extra R&D points as well, so we're now 3,330 points all in, and we've got about 3 weeks until the next race in Japan. So we are going to work on some upgrades, and by upgrades I'm going to mean chassis upgrades. So we're going to purchase 2 minor chassis upgrades. Hopefully they'll both arrive before the Japanese Grand Prix, and that will give us an improved package. I was going to do potentially an aerodynamics upgrade because there was a major one available, but I'm kind of planning to do the major ones during the off season, and I'll do the minor ones now. So unfortunately one of the minor ones did fail, so we had to repurchase that. That means it won't arrive in time for the Japanese Grand Prix, and we'll only have 1 upgrade for the next race. Nonetheless, I actually had enough points, so I got 1 more minor chassis upgrade, because due to the failure it meant that we could no longer afford this aerodynamic one right here. So yeah, I thought, you know what, we'll just go for the chassis ones and try and push that forward, because we are already the best team in the aerodynamics anyway. And also the team, actually Honda, brought an engine upgrade, so we are going to get an extra minor engine power upgrade heading into Japan. So all in, guys, it's been a great day at the office, lots of upgrades, and the most dominant drive in F1 history. But guys, if you enjoyed that video and that dominant performance, then I'd appreciate a like, and also subscribe if you are new to the channel, guys, for more daily F1 content. Also check out the 2 videos on your screen right now if you have missed them. But that is it from me here today, guys, and I'll see you all next time for my favorite race, the Japanese Grand Prix. But until then, guys, take care, and let's goodbye from me.